just check if I can see my stream coming up. 1 second. Okay, cool. So I'm just clearing out. Happy New Year, everyone, by the way. I'm just clearing out some. I've got like big parts, 3 big stacks of records that I'm clearing out from the studio. So I just thought I'd do a live stream running through some of the records in my collection, basically. Just see what we've got. I haven't looked through them for a long time, so they're just basically piles that have been left in the studio for a long time. So I haven't actually gone through them. So I've got another camera set up here. We can see a close-up of the desk. Let's see how it goes. We'll start at the top pile. And I'll just slide them into view so you can see them. So, first one, Hair, the musical. Original London cast. Obviously, hippie stage. This looks like it's a Reader's Digest copy, though. You can see in the corner there's a little Reader's Digest stamp there. So I don't know. I did get that app that you can check the cost of records. But what did I like on Hair? Not much. I liked Ain't Got No was okay. Good Morning Starshine. I think I sampled that at one point back when I used to do a bit of sampling. Overall, maybe we'll keep that one. This isn't to decide. This isn't to decide really what to keep, what not to keep. Although if I do find some crap in here, I probably will put it to one side and throw it away. The next one is Rocky 2, original motion. But right, so it looks like I've stumbled across a pile of soundtrack albums here. Actually, now I've seen this. So what I'll do is I will keep them in a separate pile. Rocky 2, pretty good soundtrack. Bill Conti. There's a Gonna Fly Now. Obviously, everyone knows that. Redemption. I see that it's a song called Vigil. Don't know if you can see it. Corner there, side A, but it says horn solo by David Duke, which that's a bit of a surprise, really. So that's Rocky 2. Then we've got Rocky 4. This was Rocky 4. I remember going to the cinema to see Rocky 4. Obviously a little bit more bombastic than the previous soundtracks for the Rocky films. The Cold War was in full effect, 1985. Living in America, James Brown, and then some other 80s stuff. But when we went to the cinema to see this when I was a little kid, 10 at that time, and I remember going to the cinema back then was a completely different experience, especially if you're going to see Rocky with loads of pre-teen boys. And when the thing comes up at the beginning telling you the certification thing, and then everybody got up out of their chairs and was like jumping up and down and going crazy for Rocky 4 to start. Strange times. Bet you don't get that anymore. You just get people talking all the way through the film instead. And then we come to Rocky 1 soundtrack. So there you go. I've got three. I just need Rocky 3. And then Rocky 1. Good film. A lot of people would say it's the best Rocky film, but really Rocky 4 is the best Rocky film. Just because of the training montages, I think better in Rocky 4, Rocky 4 than Rocky 1 and 2. Keep that soundtrack. Then this is a Gertrude Stein album. So back in the olden days, they used to produce albums of things like poetry and stories and things like that. It's a lovely album cover. I mean, you won't get anything as nice as that nowadays. And that's on Folkways Records FL 9746. I should check that one out, really. I'll put that to one side. But yeah, if you like your sort of, if you like your writing and poetry a little bit abstract and quirky, Gertrude Stein, good place to start. I don't know if the camera that I've got overhead is really picking up the colour of it, but it's like a nice sort of pink, darkened pink, and then just a great picture on the front. So I'm going to put that to one side, check the price of that one. And then another spoken word, or this was basically an interview, Bertrand Russell. Looks a little bit like a sort of some sort of like an emu or something, maybe. I think he looks like, if I turn it upside down, you'll see it. Looks like an emu. Bertrand Russell. And this is an interview with Bertrand Russell from a series, by the looks of it. I've got to keep pressing auto power on this camera. I should turn that off somehow. I don't know who it is who's actually interviewing him, but it's a very posh bloke anyway who's interviewing him. I don't know if it is John Chandos, maybe. That's who it says is produced and edited by John Chandos. Side 1, Nuclear Disarmament Movement, Scandal in New York, Christ versus Christianity, Morality and Hypocrisy, Lawrence, Shaw, Lenin, Einstein, Conrad. And then side 2, Background to National Greatness, Original Thinking and Persecution, USSR and USA, the Conflict, Education and Tolerance, Survival and Unilateral Disarmament, Religion and Fear. Yeah, I mean, once this was the only way you got to hear some of these people. I mean, I can't think what sort of person would have brought a vinyl of Bertrand Russell. Somebody who's interested in Bertrand Russell, but not enough to read one of his books, I suppose. I wanted to hear an interview with him. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty. It's good. I remember listening to that quite a lot actually at one point because I couldn't be bothered to read Bertrand Russell. Now we've got 2001, A Space Odyssey, and this looks like this looks like it's an original, doesn't it? Stereo, also playable in mono. Great artwork, of course. We've got that sort of classic 60s to 70s artwork. On the back, another scene from space. The space we never got to see. And it says MGM presents a Stanley Kubrick production, 2001, A Space Odyssey, Cinerama, Super Panavision and Metrocolor, MGM Records. What do we have in here? So, great. Gatefold. Photographs from the film. And then for every song, for every piece of music, we've got a nice piece of writing for each. And why Kubrick chose each of those pieces as well. So they really went all out back then to produce a piece of vinyl. There's a description on this side of what 2001 was, and then on this side the music. Yeah, really brilliant. Yeah, but what we used to love about vinyl is opening them up and just reading through everything, you know. So probably by the time the album had finished, you'd read most of the stuff inside. Yeah, brilliant. You know, I used to love just getting vinyl, putting the vinyl on, opening it up, reading it. Let's get some more out. What we've got here. I think these look like it's just all of the soundtrack section. Although I don't know what this first one is. Let me bring this weird one up for you. So, this one, note the key to success. Note now playing. Don't know what this is. EMI Records, which was in Hayes, just down the road. Now this looks like some sort of compilation. Compilation album. We've got The Last Farewell, Roger Whittaker, Feel the Warm, Cleo Lane, Family Tree, Jake Thackeray, probably why I picked it up somewhere. Arrivederci Roma, Jeff Love Mandolins, Georgie Girl, The Seekers, Think of Me Wherever You Are, Ken Dodd, Pontevedra in Paris, Neil Howlett, Leslie Fyson and the John McCarthy Singers, Whispering Grass by Windsor Davis and Don Estelle. So these are all from other albums by the looks of it. So this was probably like a compilation that they made to promote other albums they'd already made. The Combine Harvester, by the Wurzels. You'd Be So Nice to Come Home To by Vera Lynn. It's mad to think that Vera Lynn used to put albums out. You can't imagine what the adverts were like for them, or the promo that they used to have to do. Why Wouldn't I Fetch for Charlie? The Corries. Where Have All the Flowers Gone by Marlene Dietrich. Love is Teasing by the Spinners. Goldfinger, Shirley Bassey, Ernie, the fastest milkman in the West, Benny Hill, and Nun's Chorus by June Bronhill with the John McCarthy Singers. So I'm going to put that. That's not in the. That's not going to go in the. That's not going in the soundtrack place. That's a compilation of some kind. This one is big suspense movie themes. So this is Music for Pleasure, which was a EMI imprint, which was just they just got a sort of studio band to play famous songs. This was Jeff Love and his orchestra, so they just made up a band, recorded famous theme songs or famous songs, and then made money out of them that way. You know, made a bit of extra cash out of the same songs over and over again. But I think these only stopped in the 80s or something. The either Pickwick Records or Music for Pleasure or someone like that only stopped in the 80s. This has got side 1, 2001 A Space Odyssey, then Love Theme from The Godfather, theme from French Connection, Paris by Night from Rafifi, then the theme from Zed, The High and the Mighty, then theme from Shaft on side 2, the Harry Lime theme from The Third Man, In the Heat of the Night, Love theme from Airport, Diamonds Are Forever, and Frenzy. So that's going to go in soundtracks, because it is sort of soundtracks, even though it's a compilation as well. This one is quite a big one, is the Escape from New York, John Carpenter. Yeah, I mean, it's just basically the whole soundtrack to Escape from New York with some really nice pictures from inside. Literally shots taken from the film. I mean, they didn't really give a shit back then about how good it looked. And this looks like it is a reissue of some kind. Music composed and performed by John Carpenter in association with Alan Howarth, recording, editing, sequencing, and synthesizer programming by Alan Howarth at Pi West Studio. Expanded reissue, executive producer John Carpenter, produced by Ford Thaxton and Alan Howarth. Digital transfers, blah blah blah. And then, so it's got some unreleased tracks on it. And then Pamela Smith plays keyboard on track 9. Tommy Wallace plays guitar on track 7, side B. I think there was like some kind of poster or something with it, maybe. I think there is. I think there's a poster in there. Yeah, I'm not going to get it out. I can go in soundtracks. This is another Talking album, but this one is instead a comedy album called We Are Most Amused. The very best of British comedy. In conjunction, Ronco Records, in conjunction with the Prince's Trust. So we open it up. Loads of comedians on this. Lot to read inside. Good stuff. I love all the reading. Letter from the Prince's Trust on the back. Selection includes, we've got Not the 9 O'Clock News, The Goons, Tony Hancock, Monty Python, Billy Connolly, Peter Ustinov, Spike Milligan, Roy Hudd, Alan Bennett, Rowan Atkinson, Max Boyce, Barry Humphries, Dame Edna, 40 Towers, Peter Sellers, Morecambe and Wise, Griff Reef Jones, Rory McGrath and Company, Neil Innes, Jasper Carrot, Spike Milligan, Joyce Grenfell. Is that the first woman on here? Looks like. Oh, yeah, that is. Yeah, I was going to say apart from Dame Edna. Yeah, as seen on TV. Ronco was actually based in Richmond as well, or Kew. It says Kew, Richmond, Mortlake Road. Ronco, probably someone called Ron, I'm presuming. That's going to go in soundtracks. And really, you could probably have a separate section for comedy albums, because this next one is one that I got in America. You can tell by the more cardboardy sleeve. American sleeves were not as shiny as English sleeves. Don't know why, but it opens up. Obviously, Cheech and Chong. Picture of Cheech and Chong at the top there, and then it opens up like a packet of cigarette papers. So we've got like the gap for the cigarette papers to go in there. I don't know whether it came with cigarette papers or whether someone used all the papers up, but it's just Cheech and Chong performing a bit of comedy, a couple of songs. Big Bamboo. That was from the time when comedy was only available either in person or over on a record. People used to sit around listening to comedy on records. Must have been fun, actually. Just because you didn't really get to see much of this sort of comedy in the real world. So I suppose getting one of these albums, whacking it on with a few friends. I remember Derek and Clive. We'll probably find the Derek and Clive album in here. But yeah, that goes in the soundtracks. This one is another one that I got in America. Seminar album. Number 37, a monthly recorded question and answer session with Nathaniel Brandon, in which he discusses key issues in psychology and philosophy, recorded live. Basically, you get cult vibes off of this, don't you? And these sort of this is from 1969. Academics Associates, founded in 1969, is an educational organisation which offers books and lecture recordings on psychology, philosophy, politics and related fields. This was from 72, and you can sort of tell by the subject matter, actually. Questions answered in Seminar 37. What are some of the most common reasons preventing women from achieving orgasm? Do men go through a change of life similar to that which a woman goes through during menopause? Could you give an example to concretize what you mean by using the vagina as a 1972. What is your opinion of occasionally smoking a little pot to help relax prior to lovemaking? What needs can one legitimately expect to be fulfilled in a romantic relationship? These are 1972 questions. This is the sort of thing people were asking in 1972, sort of questions that they were obsessing over, mainly themselves and their own internal workings, not really worried about the world anymore. Everything sort of ended in 1969, and then they was just reverting to talking about pointless crap like this record. This one's a bit more exciting. That is the Frank Edwards presents Flying Saucers, Serious Business. an authoritative personal report on UFOs by the famous author lecturer who wrote the best-selling book. I don't think there's anything included in this one, is there? Oh, there might be something in here. Hold on. Yeah, that's pretty cool. New York's first flying saucer convention, 1967 Congress of Scientific Ufology. So that's just stuck in there. Admission, $2 per session, to be held at the Hotel Commodore, Lexington Ave and 42nd Street. And then it's got a tentative schedule of sessions open to the public. We've got Gordon Evans, Art Ford, Gray Barker. Then Saturday, Frank Stranges, Ivan Sanderson, Stuart Robb. And then Saturday at 8 p.m, late session, Ray Palmer, Richard Basil, Bob Barry, James Randi. So they was already interfering. Randi was already interfering back then in these UFO things. And then we've got Sunday, John Long Nebel, Howard Menger, John Kill. Wow. And then Daniel Fry. And then special guest Roy Thinners, star of the ABC television series The Invaders. And then someone's actually stuck a couple of things on here. Looks like whoever brought this, cut a few things out. They're from 1975, 1978, 1967. Serious enthusiast. What we've got on here, hold on. I found something else in here as well from 1990, a little pamphlet, Awake. And it says, UFOs, are they real? Unidentified flying objects. Like a little tiny magazine. Yeah, interesting. Don't know what you think about UFOs. I'm on the fence about the whole thing. But on this we've got side 1, flying saucers around ships and astronauts. Then UFOs from A-bomb to the blackout. Then kooks who claim saucer contact. And then UFOs in ancient history and astronomers report flying saucers. Then side 2, UFOs, their size and power source, mysteries on the moon, flying saucer censorship, signals and creatures from space. Again, this would have been something that would have been quite rare, I think, back then, to have an album of just talking about UFOs. Yeah, I think that would have been something that you could have put on and really sucked a long tooth to while you put it on. Maybe followed by Pink Floyd. We'll put that with the Talking records. Now we've got one called Inner Voyage with Lynn Sarida. I think Lynn Sarida's still around, but this looks like it's some sort of meditation yoga album, maybe, but he looks like he's into all sorts of stuff. In addition to being an intermediate in some aspects an advanced yogi. Professionally, Lynn is an educational psychologist with graduate degrees from the University of Alberta in Edmonton and the University of California in Berkeley. Currently involved in a series of research projects at the University of British Columbia into exploring some of the potentialities of yogic procedures to alter levels of cognitive functions. The album In a Voyage has been put together to help initiate the listener into one of these such techniques that Lynn has been helping to evolve, called Savasana Yoga. Sav refers to the idea of being corpse-like, and asana in yoga means pose. So Savasana is the corpse-like pose in which the participant attempts to relax and progressively loosen the musculature of the entire body, such that the muscles go completely limp, as in a dead mass, and such that the entire physiological function of the organism sinks deeper and deeper into a hypo and metabolic or very slowed down state. So yeah, put it on at your own peril, I suppose. That is In a Voyage. In a Voyage with Lynn Sarita. Serious business. Now, talking of serious business, this next one is it's in a white label, so that means it's probably quite edgy. It's called Bedknobs and Broomsticks. So it's the soundtrack to Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Obviously, the great Portobello Road on this. And then the one about being on a boat. What's the one with the granddad on the ship? So let me just get it out. No, I can't remember what else is on here actually. Portobello Road. That's the best one on there because that's where we used to go when we was little. To Portobello Road, just down the road. So the next one, another 80s classic, Beverly Hills Cop. Electronic soundtrack by Harold Faltermeyer, maybe, was it? Yep. Featuring the theme to Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. And then the only other ones on here that you might know, The Heat Is On, Glenn Frey. Neutron Dance, Pointer Sisters. It's all started getting electro at this point. Then we've got Don't Get Stopped in Beverly Hills by Shalamar. Do You Really Want My Love by Junior. Emergency by Rocky Robbins. That's just going in the soundtrack section. This one is also going in the soundtrack section, and that is Winnie the Pooh and Tigger. I mean, how good's that? Narrated by Sterling Holloway. Magnificent full-colour illustrated book and long-playing record. Disneyland Records. Tigger has breakfast, and then side 2, Tiggers Don't Climb Trees. Pretty self-explanatory, really. Again, might be worth looking it up. And then we've now got A Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More, released on Camden Records, and this is Ennio Morricone. And this is a Pickwick record, which is NW9. So they were Edmonton or somewhere, or Finchley or something like that. And then this is just really a collection. Oh, it's actually Ennio Morricone and his orchestra though, so it is the original soundtrack. It's not just, they didn't just get a band in to cover the songs. But yeah, it looks like what they've done is they threw together music from 2 films so that you got a better deal out of it. You didn't just get the boring songs from the film that you didn't really enjoy. This probably got all killer and no filler, I'd imagine, from 2 different films. Great though. That's going in the soundtracks. Let's grab another handful out. So, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, MFP, Music for Pleasure record. And is this a? Oh, there you go. This was Music for Pleasure at this time was in Feltham. So a lot of these places seem to be based around the same area, really. Richmond, Feltham, Hayes. A lot of industrial estates. Arranged and conducted by Brian Fay and produced by Walter J. Ridley. 1965. And we've got a nice big story on the back. Was this the one? This was the one with the song about being on the ship, I think. Posh. So it wasn't Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Bedknobs and Broomsticks I'm not massively aware of, really. I just know it's about witches. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is where they go to that weird little country called Moldova or something, and they save a country. Of course, written by Ian Fleming, James Bond. A sort of tricked out car. So it's the early version of James Bond's car. And then I think the child catcher character was written by none other than Roald Dahl. So they were friends back then, and I think that Roald Dahl helped Ian Fleming put together Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Gave him a bit of feedback. This next one, this is probably one of the ones that I should get rid of. But you just wonder, because some of these things have got like a sort of a value other than monetary, haven't they? And that is Noel's Funny Phone Calls, which is Noel Edmonds, the bane of Alan Partridge's life. And this just looks like he's just phoning people up. So it's probably before Jerky Boys, maybe. You know, you could sort of say this was like the original. Noel Edmonds was the original Jerky Boys. And their phone calls such as spoof phone calls and messages. So things such as the telephone engineer, presumably where he phones up and pretends he's a telephone engineer and there's a problem on the line. Telephone consumer service, Mickey Mouse phone, the Spanish holiday. That's probably going to be a timeshare prank. Pony trekking in Wales, another prank. The new driving test with extras. Dread to think what that's going to be. The emergency stop, the wrong highway code, and American parking ticket, which is where presumably he phones someone up and says they've got a parking ticket from America they've got to pay. And then we've got side 2, going into hospital, playing cricket in prison, booking a band to play in the nude, saucy, the laundrette, the unusual gift, and Robin Cousins' fit it, and then haggis shooting, where you go out haggis shooting with Noel Edmonds, presumably. But yeah, you know, what do you do with something like that? It's a piece of vinyl, I suppose. Look it up, see what it's worth. But I'm going to put that in the spoken word section. This next one, I only got it for one song, and that is The World of Max Bygraves, which is a Decca record. In the corner, look, you can see that it says red equals mono, blue equals stereo. I'm lucky enough to have the blue dot, which means that my record is stereo. So I know how that makes a lot of people feel. They prefer mono. The song that I got this album for, I mean, there's a lot on it that you'll know. Tulips from Amsterdam. You're a Pink Toothbrush. 10 Pretty Girls. Consider Yourself, which is the Oliver. A lot of Max Bygrave stuff is sort of like Cockney songs, but it's this one really that I was after. Things Ain't What They Used to Be. So it's from a lost musical, which I think was called Things Ain't What They Used to Be, which was like a sort of Cockney musical in the 60s. And I don't think the music exists anymore. I don't think it was ever recorded. All that was recorded was the theme, the main theme from it. Things Ain't What They Used to Be. And it's a song that really stands up today just as well as it did in the 60s, you know. It's worth checking it out. One day I'd probably like to do some kind of cover of it, but I don't know how you do that, really. You'd want to do it with like a big, you know, choral backline of people all singing along with you, sort of thing. But I think the musical was like all sort of different characters from Cockney London, which was at that time already fast disappearing. But it had like teddy boys in it and a spiv left over from the war and some sort of dodgy Cockney gangster bloke and probably a flower seller, something like that, car salesman. Yeah, I'm sure it was like very, very hacky, but yeah, that song's been left for us, and it's still a good song. That is The World of Max Bygraves. There you go, The World of Max Bygraves. So that's not really a spoken word album or a soundtrack. So I'm going to put that. I'm going to put Noel in the spoken word section, actually, because he's spoken word. As much as we don't like Noel, really. So Next one is along the same lines of Rocky, Stallone, Cobra, which was one of my favourite films in the 80s. Don't tell anyone, but I pirated it using 2 video players. So I had my own copy of it that I recorded from the video shop. And I used to watch it pretty much every day for about a year, I reckon. I watched that. I wanted the car. He had a car of like a 49 Ford Mercury or something. I think it's a Ford Mercury. But yeah, lovely car. It's a bit of a weird film, really, Cobra. Because at the end, so his boss says to him, you know, I don't like it's traditional 80s, you know, the boss is always having a go at the workers. And he's like, I don't like the way that you do things, Cobretti, because that's his real name, Cobretti. Marion Cobretti, because he doesn't like the name Marion, so he calls himself Cobra, which is advisable if you're a boy with a girl's name. Then find like a more hard-edged name that you can use. And then at the end he catches the villain, because back in the 80s it was only one villain running everything. So he catches the Night Stalker guy. I think it's called the Night Stalker or something. And he catches him and probably throws him off of something or stabs him with his own knife or something like that. And then his boss comes up at the end and says, you know what, Cobretti, I don't like the way you do things, but you get things done. And then he puts his hand out to shake his hand, and Cobra puts his hand out, shakes his hand, pulls him towards him and punches him. So it's not really very ethical as a film. You know, it's trying to run on that thing of like everyone hates their boss, and Cobretti just hates his boss, everyone wants to punch their boss. But he actually does admit that, you know, you've got an unethical way of doing your work. You know, imagine if you'd done that in any other job, the fire brigade or building site. That you got there. You're unethical. You got there in the end, but then you punched your boss when he tried to just say well done for doing. You know, tried to say you've done a good job. Yeah, that's why you don't really see that film much, because I think to try and reshoot all the problematic parts of it would be so long and confusing that you might have to just scrap the whole thing. But we've got love theme from Cobra, because who was in it? It's his wife, Bridget Nielsen. Was that his wife at the time? So it's and it's obviously a Golan Globus film as well, from the golden era of bad films. We've got a John Cafferty song. We've got Jean Beauvoir, or Beaver. Loving on Borrowed Time, which is the love theme. Gladys Knight, they roped her into it. Then Skyline, Sylvester Levy. Hold On to Your Vision by Gary Wright. Suave by Miami Sound Machine. Big at the time, obviously, mid-80s, the Miami Sound Machine. Cobra by Sylvester Levy. Angel of the City by Robert Tepper. Chase, Sylvester Levy. 2 into 1, which is Bill Medley and Carmen Twilly. It wasn't Bill Medley's biggest work. Stallone, Cobra. Strong Arm of the Law. So that's going in OST. Soundtracks. This next one is Bugs Bunny Comes to London. This used to be on constant rotation when I was about 4. Love the drawings. Love all these sorts of like classic. When's this from? It's probably like early 70s, late 60s. Another Music for Pleasure record. Again, Astronaut House. Feltham, which is now a big crappy hotel. Some of my writing on the back there, look, you can see that's me practicing the word comes. So I crossed out comes to London and then instead wrote the word comes myself. And then this is it's songs. It's like a little story. 1973 this is from. It's a little story of Bugs Bunny coming to London. And where does he go? Obviously Buckingham Palace. Goes to Buckingham Palace. It's important back then to go to Buckingham Palace. But then he goes to he meets a policeman. So a policeman is the one who takes him around all these places. So he goes to Buckingham Palace. Then he goes and learns some Cockney, because it's 1970. Cockneys are dying out. And then he goes to a cricket match. And then they go down the Thames to Greenwich. And then they go upriver to Kew. It's quite a long way. Some depending on where the tide is, that could be a really long journey. But then he also goes to Hampton Court after that. So he's on his way out again. He's nearing Heathrow. And then he has a dream about the maze at Hampton Court. And then they go and eat at a London pub where they meet a crowd of youngsters. And then Bugs Bunny has to go to the airport. So the pub is probably, if he went from Hampton Court to Heathrow to get his plane, I'm guessing the pub is probably in Feltham, which is sort of halfway there. And he used to have a lot of pubs at the time. Could be Hamworth. Yeah, and then he goes off to the airport, goes home. So Bugs Bunny comes to London. Don't think it's the original Bugs Bunny voice actor. Well, obviously not. It's some English guy who sounded like him. Next one is a BBC record, and it's Magic Roundabout. 10 of the most popular stories from the tracks of the television series as told by Eric Thompson. So this looks like, I mean, this was another one that got played in our house when we was little. And it's just like the Magic Roundabout itself it's just like a collection of stories taken out of context. So it doesn't matter if you don't understand one of them because you're a kid, and all of it's just pretty trippy anyway, and not really meant to understand it. That's the Magic Roundabout. So that can go. I suppose that's a talking one. Yeah, that can go and talking. Now this next one, we're starting to get out of the soundtrack albums now and into just albums by the looks of it. Great cover on this one though. You Can All Join In. And it's a compilation of Island Records artists, and they managed to get everyone who's on it on the front. So you can see a lot of familiar faces, if you know. Sandy Denny. Who else was on there straight away? I noticed Steve Winwood. Probably that looks like Rebo Kwaku Kwa, whatever his name is, the drummer from Traffic. John Martin's in there somewhere. Who else we got? Richard Thompson. yeah, pretty good cover. I mean, to get everybody there in one day, free, Spooky Tooth, and it looks like a sort of, well, you can listen what's on it. A Song for Jeffrey by Jethro Tull. Sunshine Help Me, Spooky Tooth. I'm a Mover, Free. What's That Sound? Art. That's still Stephen Stills. Pearly Queen, Tramline, which is the Traffic song. You Can All Join In, Traffic. Side 2, Meet on the Ledge, Fairport Convention. Rainbow Chaser, Nirvana. The original Nirvana, not the 90s Nirvana. Dusty, John Martin. I'll Go Girl, Clouds. Somebody Help Me, Spencer Davis Group. And then Gasoline Alley, Winder K. Frog. And then obviously again, you've got the albums that they're promoting on there. So this is like a sampler of all of these albums, so you can get an idea of the artists on Ireland. Really, really nice idea, because you might not have been aware of Nirvana at the time, or John Martin. You might have been a fan of Jethro Tull, and then you just pick this up in the. They probably would have been like half the price of an album, so that they could get people, get people through the door. Lovely. I'm going to stick that. That's going to go with music, proper music. Next one, bit of a controversial one. This one, but it's from a certain period of time in life, and that is Ice Cube, America's Most Wanted. After the dissolution of NWA, Ice Cube had a really successful career on his own. This is from 1990. And we've got America's Most Wanted, Once Upon a Time in the Projects, and then side 2, America's Most Wanted, instrumental, and Once Upon a Time in the Projects, instrumental. So back then it was okay to just release the same song on both sides of a 12-inch. How well played did it? No scratches. Pretty good. Yeah, I didn't play it a lot, but might be worth putting that to one side, seeing what it's worth. Put that to one side. Might go through what they're worth as well. Okay, here's one. And this is another one that I got in America. Again, you can just tell by the cover. It's like a sort of matte finish. You can see it. It's not really more specular than shiny. And you get this thing of the record showing through on it. So I went to Massachusetts in the mid-90s and brought back a load of records, because you can just go to thrift shops in America and just buy up whole collections of people's music. But not really a band that I ever really got into, actually, which was the Chicago Transit Authority, which later just morphed into Chicago. Might be worth checking what this is. Well, it's probably not worth much, actually, because it was quite a popular album. It's the album that got them noticed. But yeah, Not that sort of stuff. Not really, soft rock. Let me have a look at the sleeve. So it's called The Inner Sleeve. And then it's really just a list of other albums that are out at the same time. Paul Simon, Dr. John, Roger McGuinn, Janis Joplin, Edgar Winter Group, Arthur Garfunkel, Sly and the Family Stone, Albert Hammond, Bob Dylan. There you go. So let's put that with actual music. Now, this next one, this is an English vinyl. Johnny Guitar Watson, Funk Beyond the Call of Duty. I mean, I don't know what to say about this. I don't know why it's here even. I must have just brought it at some point. But I've never listened to it. Not really into funk. Someone might like it. I don't know. I don't. So that, although, maybe I should do a pile of stuff I don't really want. I suppose I can just go through them all if they're in one pile. Now this one. Didn't really know much about this when I got it. Mid-90s, perhaps. Hip-hop album, Mood, Doom. 97, it says it's from Blunt Recordings. But, no, it's pretty good. I was into sort of more esoteric rap music, I suppose, out of all of it. Stuff where it's a little bit more cerebral, thoughtful. This had songs like Esoteric Manuscripts, Secrets of the Sand, Karma, Millennium, so there was a little bit more out there thinking about things, trying to spread some esoteric stuff. Yeah, that was Mood. That should really go in like the hip hop section. I'll put that in the hip hop section. And that will be the same with this one, which is Caveman. Positive Reaction. MCM Caveman was the main guy in these, I think. I met him a couple of, maybe last year or something, the year before last, Mark. Lovely bloke, but this was just because at the time I was into lots of caveman stuff. I don't mean the group Caveman, I mean I was actually into caveman stuff, so I was reading a lot about the prehistoric man, and this just appealed to me because I saw that they was called Caveman. They had troglodyte history on there, and I just thought, oh, that looks like sort of thing that they might be talking about some of the things I like. So I picked that up. It's pretty good. Caveman. That's going in the hip hop section. Right, really working through these records now. Right, I'm just going to quickly pass through some of these because Curtis Blow, If I Ruled the World, just an old hip hop track. If I Ruled the World dub version, and then B-side If I Ruled the World instrumental version. Piece of 12-inch vinyl, 2 records, 2 songs on it, the same song, one with vocals, one without. That's what you could do back then. That's what you could do if you had a vinyl release. You could just do what you want. No one was hassling you to fill it up with just all music. You could just release a piece of vinyl with 2 same song on it. Nana Cherry, Buffalo Stance, Tiny Little Kid, 1988, 13 years old. Again, that's Buffalo Stance, and then second song is an a cappella version of Buffalo Stance, then the B-side, instrumental version, and then there's just a remix of it by Bomb the Bass, by the looks of it, on the B-side. That's going in the rap records. This is we're moving into like a rap territory by the looks of it now. Enter the Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers, classic. Not really much to say about it. Just if you haven't heard it, then it's not really much I can say. Other than maybe check it out. It was a sort of like quite a big crossover album. In that it was like critically acclaimed with, you know, music press, and with, you know, rap fans and normal people. Normal as in not rap fans, normal people who are normal, who don't like rap music. Next one, I'm just going to really plough through these lot quickly because they're quite boring. Good album, Black Sheep, Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. Probably early 90s, I imagine, if I remember rightly. Paid in Full, Eric B. and Rakim. Loads of Gold. I remember the drawings had all drawings over the top. Gold, you know, pen over someone's drawn over the top of the gold. It probably wasn't blinging enough for them, so they decided to draw over the top of it with a gold pen. Rap. Let's go in the rap section. Right. Back to a normal. I keep saying normal. Back to some guitar music. This is another American album, I can tell by the cover. And it's Super Sessions, Mike Bloomfield, Al Kooper, Stephen Stills. And this looks like it's an Al Kooper record where he's pulled together a few people and basically made an album with them. So the first side one is Mike Bloomfield and Al Kooper. And then side 2 is Stephen Stills and Al Kooper. So Al Cooper's just pulling in some of his biggest friends just so he can get a bit of their shine. 1973 this was. Obviously Al Kooper played with a lot of people. It was quite a player in his day. But this is like an after hours album, you know, everyone's in the studio late at night, smoky, boozy. we've got a cover of Season of the Witch by Donovan on here. Yeah. Might be worth giving that another listen. It's been a long time. I don't think I've listened to that. I'm going to put that in this to the side and see what that's worth, actually. And then we're back to the rap period, which is De La Soul is Dead. Put that to the side. Main source, Breaking Atoms. Looks like an American vinyl as well. Queen Latifah, Craig Mack, Stetsasonic, talking all that jazz. It's more done. Let's just grab another handful. Oh, there's some absolute rubbish in here. Yeah. Okay. Weren't really a massive garage fan. It's safe to say, but this was one of my favourite songs at the time, which is Gabrielle by Roy Davis Jr. That's from '96. Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice song. Not like typical garage stuff, but you know, I'm gonna put that in. I'll put that on its own because that's like sort of electronic, and I'll start building up an electronic section. We'll just skim through these. Method Man, Tikal. Colin Emmanuel, Delusions of Grandeur. Great album, great UK. Oh, there you go. Oh, look, it's been signed. Ooh. And yeah, that's really good. And Colin Emmanuel is just in the next studio along. So I'll stick that with the electronic cool music. Moni Love, UK rap. Third Bass, Def Jam recordings. White rappers. Well, you know what I mean. We'll come back to that one. Let's just get a few of these ones out of the way. De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising, 1989. Everybody started wearing baggy jeans at school, not to school, but outside school. Africa pendants. What was cool about De La Soul is that it was Prince Paul produced it. That's what makes it really good. Is that Prince Paul's probably is my favourite producer of the sort of rap music, because he's got a strange mind, so it really worked. But yeah, it's like a sort of hippie album, but for rap. Rubbish, Alexander O'Neill, absolute rubbish. Just one of these things that you just picked up when you was a kid, didn't even know it was buying. Talib Kweli, Get By. That's my favourite Talib Kweli song. Sabak from Non-Fiction. Sabakopolypse. Sort of like communist rap. That's going to get stacked at the back. This one, Saint Etienne, Fox Base Alpha. Let's sit down with this one. There's probably a few things to say about this. Heavenly Records, 1991. But I think that the Only Love Can Break Your Heart, which I had the 12-inch of that, was probably 1990. And loved it when it came out. I think I read somewhere that it was a cover of a Neil Young song or something. I didn't even know who Neil Young was back then. So, yeah, I brought Only Love Can Break Your Heart, like a baggy dance remix of the Neil Young song. Then that's when that was probably the first Neil Young song that I heard, believe it or not. And then I brought this album, and this was sort of like one of those watershed moments, really, when you've got like this sort of new load of music came out. So all of the music was all slowed down, baggy, like dance music, indie music, dance music crossed over. It's very London as well, they're both, I think they're both like journalists or something, so they had like this sort of thing of like, finger on the pulse type thing. But yeah, loved it at the time. It's a little bit dated, but not really as well, if you can sort of put yourself in that time period when everything was baggy, and the music was baggy, everything was more drifty and floaty, and all the drum beats were slowed down, and everybody was dancing in a sort of slower way and everything, but yeah, I liked that album at the time, and I probably would still listen to Fox Base Alpha now, but I haven't really heard much Saint Etienne since then. A couple of albums probably in the mid-90s, but not really anything that impressive. Chambers Brothers, Shout. This looks like it's going to be a sort of soul album. Don't know why I've got this. It's another one that I've probably just picked this up somewhere and not really ever listened to it, or I've listened to it just briefly, once, and then not listened to it after that. Johnny B. Good, Blues, Get Off My Shoulder, I Got It, Shout. On the other side, There She Goes, 17, Pretty Girls, Rain, The Day You Left, So Fine, Love Me Like the Rain. Only the slight rain obsession. When you're playing outside like they are, you would have a little bit of an obsession about rain, I think, because if you get those amps wet, then you've basically fucked your amp. I'll stick that in music. So far in real music, we've only seen mainly funk, which I'm not really a fan of. So it looks like we've reached the arse end of my record collection somehow. Another rap album, Ill Bill, What's Wrong with Bill. It's a very good album, believe it or not. Right, that's going in the rap pile. Charlie Mingus, Pithecanthropus erectus. Again, the obsession with caveman and all that sort of stuff, I brought this album just because I was obsessed with cavemen. And I thought, oh, I'm going to check out an album, a jazz album that's got stuff about cavemen on it. It's pretty good. I quite like this album actually. I don't like a lot of jazz, but this album's good. I'm gonna see if I can get a better connection to the internet. Hold on, one sec. Let's see if that's any better. I noticed it dipping in and out quite a lot, so it looks a bit glitchy, but I've just connected the internet up to an Ethernet connection, so it might be a bit better. Let's see anyway. Right, so this one, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Royal Albert Hall concert. This is an American vinyl. It's got the matte cover. Recorded at the Royal Albert Hall, 1970. But this says 1980 Fantasy Records. 10th and Parker, Berkeley, California. Don't know how rare this one is. I mean, all this stuff's probably available now anyway, isn't it? Just from somewhere on the internet. Born on the Bayou, Green River, Tombstone Shadow, Don't Look Now, Travelling Band, Who'll Stop the Rain, Bad Moon Rising, Proud Mary, Fortunate Son, Commotion, The Midnight Special, Nighttime is the Right Time, Down on the Corner, Keep on Chugling. Yeah, that would be nice to put on actually. I haven't got a record player set up, but that would be pretty nice to stick that on. Just seeing if there's anything inside it. Nothing inside. I'm going to put that with actual music. Could have a live section, I suppose, at some point. There's going to be a few live. Right, this one, Psychedelic Classics, some sort of reissue, Chocolate Soup for Diabetics. Originally recorded in the mid-60s, these tracks have for the most part remained undiscovered until now. The groups who make up this album were, and many still are, friends of mine. I financed their numerous trips into recording studios because I had seen them in clubs and at love-ins or happenings and had been amazed by the music that poured forth. My small production company, Poppy Productions, then took the tapes to various big-time record companies who usually offered us a one-off contract with options. The option was, if the record sold well, they would release a follow-up. Unfortunately, none of the records ever made the charts, but that doesn't matter. The music is magic. So now, nearly 15 years later, it's your turn to be turned on by the psychedelic sound of this LP. Play it loud. I sincerely dedicate this album to the groups who made it possible. Psychedelically yours. And this is 1980, actually. Side 1, The Voice, The Train to Disaster, the New Cheses, Open Up Your Mind. Tintern Abbey, Vacuum Cleaner. 1 in a Million, Double Sight. The Misunderstood, Children of the Sun. Dantalion's Chariot, The Madman Running Through the Fields. The New Cheses, Bee Gees, One Eye. And then side 2, The Flies, I'm Not Your Stepping Stone. 1 in a Million, Frederic Hermando. The Fire, Father's Name is Dad. Tinton Abbey, B-side. The Fresh Windows, Fashion Conscious. Apple, The Other Side. And The Unexplained, A Walk Down Emily Lane. Great song titles, great period of time. Thanks to this person, I don't know who it is, for saving these songs and putting them together in this compilation. I mean, how many people would do that these days? Would just get all their favourite bands that they hear, pay for them to go into a studio, record 1 or 2 songs, and just see if you can get them released for them. But if not, then put them on a compilation 17 years, 15 years later, or whatever it was. Probably 1980, so maybe like 13 years later. And yeah, just keep it alive for everybody else to hear. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Just sorting some of these records out that have fallen off. Now, Stone Cold classic, Velvet Underground. Of course. What is there to say, really? While everybody else was on the West Coast with their flares and their flowers in their hair, on the East Coast, a bunch of dark bastards were putting together something altogether different and altogether more influential and long-lasting than a lot of the West Coast stuff. You know, the West Coast had the numbers. The West Coast had all the numbers. Everybody was on the West. Everyone is in San Francisco making music, and so you had a choice of hundreds and hundreds of bands, and then New York had the Velvet Underground, and it didn't really need anything else. I mean, they sort of that's been the longest lasting and the most influential of all of those you know, obviously there's other bands that influence other bands that influence other bands, but the Velvet Underground, everybody, when you first hear the Velvet Underground, you want to be in a band like the Velvet Underground. You don't want to wear flares anymore once you know the Velvet Underground. You want to wear sunglasses on stage. You want to have a dark stage where nobody can see what's going on, and the light show is objectional and makes you feel like you don't really want to stick around. So it's like a gatekeeping thing at these shows, you know, the Velvet Underground shows, that everything was so weird that they wanted you to feel uncomfortable, which should have been the real challenge. And that's what went on to be the best type of music that makes you feel uncomfortable while you're experiencing it. So yeah, not really much more you can say about it. It's an absolute classic. Well, I think I spoke too soon. I said they're on the West Coast. They were doing their flares and flowers in their hair, when actually there was one band that was another bunch of another bunch of dark hippies that made this album. Love Forever Changes. This album totally changed my life when I heard it. It blew all of the expectations of psychedelic music out of the water for me. Everything that you expected that music to be, this music was that, but with the sensibilities of somebody who had their head screwed on and wasn't just, you know, out of their brain on drugs. Even though there probably was. But there's like a sensibility to it and a sort of cynicism that's not dissimilar to the Velvet Underground. Probably one of the, you know, we can all talk about one of the best albums and all that sort of thing, but for me, it's consistently in the top 3 albums for me, which, you know, they rotate around. There's probably like 5 or 10 albums that rotate around, but this is always in the top 3. And if you haven't heard it, when I first heard this album, I didn't like it, but I didn't like it, I hated it. And what I came to realise is that when I really hate something, because I was only a kid when I heard it, when I really hated music, it's because I really liked it. So I learned that if I hated something, I was going to love it. Whereas if I just didn't like something, I'm probably just never going to listen to it again. But like I say, this evoked such a feeling in me, and that feeling is that I'm never going to do this, and these people have done it, and that's like it's not hatred that I had for these people, it's admiration. I admired it so much, and I felt that was the end of music for me. I was never going to be able to make music after listening to this album. But you get over it. You realise that they were just doing, you know, the music of their time. And then, you just listen to it for what it is, which is just a really great album with like a really well put together set of songs that I'd imagine split the band up, because it was so impossible to reproduce it. You know, the pressure of having to reproduce such a good album live maybe resulted in the band never being able to play those songs live, which was part of the problem with the self-indulgence of the 1960s. Obviously, that, you know, you had a lot of these really good albums, but these bands, just when they came to perform them, they was completely a letdown. But you know, we can all learn from that, can't we? And make sure that we don't try and overproduce or you know, place too much expectation on music for people. Give people something more realistic all the time, and then you're never gonna let people down when they see it live. That's what I think, anyway. But if you've never heard this album, then you need to get it and listen to it. So this was another one I picked up in America. No, it's not. Is it? No, it's not. It doesn't look like it is. 13th floor elevators. I went through a period of 13th floor elevators. But this is a bit later, so I'm not really sure this was like the golden period of 13th floor elevators. It's called Bull of the Woods. It hasn't got a date on it. Hold on. Yeah, I'd have to look it up because it doesn't have a date on there. But I'm guessing this is later. 13th floor elevators. Once everyone went all country towards the end of the 60s. Everyone lost their, the psychedelic thing had been done. So everyone started going towards country in America. They started wearing country clothes and growing long moustaches. This one, this is sort of like why I wish I had a record player when I find things like this. The medieval sound. David Munro introduces early woodwind instruments. The Oryx Exploring the World of Music series. Oryx Records. Recorded by Oryx Sound Studio. Not sure where Oryx were based. We've got David Munro playing early woodwind instruments with Gillian Reid and Christopher Hogwood. So side A, David Munro introduces early woodwind instruments with Gillian Reid, psaltery, medieval bells, percussion, and Christopher Hogwood, regal harpsichord. And then side B, band 1, music at Henry VIII's court. And then band 2, Elizabethan popular tunes. And band 3, suite of Renaissance dances. Yeah, I really wish I had a record player set up to have a listen to this. Because I bet there's some interesting sounds on there. He's playing a crumb horn. Yeah, lovely. Really looks like, look at the album, look at the cover, all the pictures of the different instruments on it. Really good fun looking album. Yeah. Brilliant. That's going in real normal music. I'll put that in the normal music section. Also going in normal music. Is this American one? It's got like a shiny front and a non-shiny back. And this is Fresh Cream. On Reaction Records. I think this is English. I think they was on someone else in America. I don't think there's on Reaction. Polydor. And then we've got, it's, look at that. Brilliant. Wearing sort of army surplus stuff. And then on the back, we've got, it all started 4 months ago as rumours. It seemed hard to believe that 3 such musical giants as Eric Clapton, Ginger Baker and Jack Bruce could be joining together. Soon it became reality. Cream were formed, and here they are. This album is made up of pure, fresh cream. Digest and enjoy it. But do not worry too much. There is a lot more where this has come from. Cream. Mayfair Public Relations Limited. And then we've got there each of the personnel and what they've done before. Two of them were in the Graham Bond band, Graham Bond organisation, and then John Mayall and the Yardbirds. So Ginger Baker and Jack Bruce was Graham Bond organisation. Jack Bruce, Eric Clapton, John Mayall. But yeah, Cream. What can you say? What we got inside? Oh, there's nothing inside. There's a broken cover. American. I think that probably. Do you know what? I think someone's plastic coated that to protect it, right? But on the back, it's like the normal flat cover, and it's also mono. I've just noticed at the top there, so I might give that a check on the app and see what that's worth. Not that I'm going to sell anything, unless there's any that you really want that you see and you say, oh yeah, I'll have that. So this one, Free at Last. This is American, flat matte cover. Free at Last, last album by Free, and it's on Pickwick actually. Which Pickwick must have also been in America and Canada then. We've got Catch a Train, Soldier Boy, Magic Ship, Sail On, Travelling Man, Little Bit of Love, Guardian of the Universe, Child, and Goodbye. Engineer Richard Digby Smith, assistant engineer Bill, just Bill. Yeah, I mean, Free were a little bit too bluesy for me, really, like bluesy jam band, which was another direction, as well as going into country music. A lot of people went into like the bluesy stuff as well. So a lot of these bands were trying to find the roots of psychedelic music. So some of them went into country music. In America, I think it is more that they went into country and blues, and then in the UK, people went more into like a sort of folk tradition, of like trying to discover the roots of the psychedelic stuff, and you end up with folk music, which was this band done a bit of both, really. And that is Traffic. This album is Welcome to the Canteen. I think it's a live album, is it? Yeah. A lot of their stuff, they just ended up being live albums with Traffic. I think because right, so these were like, this might be an American album, actually. Because they were all into sort of jamming and a lot of these bands thought that their best performances were live. They wanted everything to be live. They wanted to record their albums live. They wanted everyone to experience them live. By the end of the 60s, people were getting more into like live was better. Studios was something that people made pop records in. They made 3.5 minute songs in studios, and then from the sort of like Tommy onwards, you started getting this like concept album. People, they popularized the concept album, and then people started experimenting with conceptual albums, and then it went all into you just got to see people live, so you just got to get the experience of a band live instead. And the Who was quite a good gauge for that, because they went on to do, they done a couple of rock operas and then went on to do Live at Leeds, which is a amazing live album that really gave everyone a taste of, and bands like Led Zeppelin and Cream and all these sort of jam type bands, they wanted people to go and see them do a half-hour drum solo, half-hour bass solo, half-hour guitar solo. Fleetwood Mac with a half an hour body drums, talking drum solo. And Traffic went the same way, really. Traffic started off, psychedelic pop songs coming out of Spencer Davis Group, really short, snappy pop songs, and then started doing longer songs, and then started getting into sort of the folk aspect of it all, and then done Blind Faith, which was like a jam band. You had to see Blind Faith live, really, to get the full experience. Or you could listen to the album. It's got like 4 tracks on it, and each of them's about 9 minutes long. And one of them has actually got the drum solo in it, and the bass solo as well, which is a weirdly pointless thing to have on an album. And so this is one of their live albums, which I'm pretty sure this was only released in America. I don't know. We've got side 1, Medicated Goo, 3 minutes 20. Sad and Deep as You, 3 minutes 20. 40,000 Headman, 5 minutes 52, because it's the jam version. Which that's starting to, when they started sort of going into their folk roots. They moved to the countryside. Steve Winwood wanted to get back to his country roots, and then Shouldn't Have Took More Than You Gave, 5 minutes 29, and then we've got side 2, Dear Mr. Fantasy, 10 minutes 32, and then Give Me Some Lovin', 8 minutes 46, the long version of Give Me Some Lovin', where they probably do the organ breakdown or something. And that's Steve Winwood, Rick Gretsch, so this is post Blind Faith, Dave Mason back on guitar, Jim Gordon on drums, Jim Capaldi doing just vocals, tambourine and percussion. So Jim Capaldi was a more than ample drummer, and decided that he actually preferred to be like second vocals and just play tambourine, I suppose. And then we've got Chris Wood on saxophone, blowing stuff, electric piano, organ, hitting stuff and blowing stuff. And then Rebop Kwaku Bar on congas, timbales and bongos. So not only were Traffic finding their folk roots, being the blues jam band, they was also reaching out to world music people and they're trying to cover all their bases essentially, so they had a bit of everything, a bit of world music going on, a bit of folk music going on, a bit of the blues, and then psychedelic pop. And that's the band. That's the band sitting there in their canteen before the gig, listening to Steve Winwood tell a story about something, probably about his eating Alpen. He's probably telling them about why they should all be eating Alpen and not fried fish like that one at the front's eating. Let's put that with real music, normal music. This one, something I just picked up that was cheap at the time. Best of Bowie. It's probably his best album, actually. No, I'm sure he's got better albums, but this has got all the best songs, the best songs on it up to like the early 80s, just before he went all like suave and 80s-ish. I don't think it's I think it's like up to early 80s. K-Tel. So K-Tel is another one of these sort of compilation